now going to hand over to, if I could now, please, to Mr. Greg Wood. And there's a time limit on each of the speakers and the question period. So, Mr. Wood, would you like to start it off first and go from there?
Certainly. Two roving mics, Therese, are they around? Yeah. Okay, they're ready to use. Just very quickly, I'll just quickly explain the format. I have got a slide for it. We're just going to do a quick 10-minute overview. Look, most people here are pretty much across these issues. I think a wrap-up's okay. We're going to go through the tedium of the whole lot. We'll be here for 3 days. A quick wrap-up, a chance for you to ask both presenters the things you want to know rather than tell us everything about what we think you want to know. And then we're going to have an open forum where people get to ask everyone, the presenters, the councillors, the mayor, the staff, anything you might want to know. And then, as I said, there's a few resolutions we can look at the end and see what we think of them. So I'll just get straight into it. As I said, I'm just going to whiz over the issues to start with and then get on to some other things that I think are dynamically really important. I've handed out a brochure, most people should have it, that covers the detail of stuff. I'll refer to it and you can look at it in your own time. Just know the details there. I'm not going to get bogged down and it's there on the paper. Think about this. I love that. I just hope we can understand what it means and respect it rather than just use it as a marketing tag. And why we're special is we are the last small village in southeast Queensland by the ocean. The very last one. All of the others on the Sunshine Coast, Hervey Bay, Gold Coast have all been swallowed up by a big strip of development. That gives us not just a wonderful place to live, but it gives us a marvellous business opportunity because so many people want to come here because it's the only opportunity they get for that. It's a massive economic and a massive social benefit. The people that come here for a holiday get a massive social benefit. They don't want to live here all their life, they want things back in the cities, but they want to come here for a weekend, a week, and they want to get away to something that is truly different. Not imaginarily or pretend different, really different. And this is really different, and I think we've got to understand that. It's a beautiful place. Now, what we're being asked to consider is to put 200 hectares of suburb and urban development along that strip. Now, most people just look at that and don't have to know much more and just don't want it. But if we want to fiddle for details, we can quickly scan and go, well, a big chestnut from way back is the beach traffic will be stopped. Now, we'll be told that it doesn't actually part of the application, but that's irrelevant. You put that length of intense urban development along that beach and the beach traffic will stop. It's just what happens. We're really worried that the conflict we've already got over the camping is only going to get worse from something like this, and with that level of developing load, you'll get day use only eventually, just as we did at Noosa Woods, as we have at Markoola, as we have everywhere else. We've got to be careful with these resources that are very precious and are already... We should be trying to expand that, and we're suggesting that before we did anything like that, we should do a recreational plan for the whole peninsula, just as a start. The impact of putting urban development along that with effluent runoffs and everything, straight into the wetlands and the marine park on the other side, the inshore fishing gutters, we've got stress conditions already that wouldn't help. We've got an uncertainty about water. Now, some of these things are certain, like the beach driving. The waters, there's arguments all over the place with, and with fire, there's arguments and uncertainties. But the uncertainties haven't been resolved, and that's the main thing. It's not up to us to prove these things won't happen. It's up to the applicant to prove beyond doubt they won't. And that's in the planning legislation. It's up beyond doubt, and the reports don't do that. The reports do not resolve these issues beyond doubt. So we'd ask, and of course we've got the global warming issues, or even without that, just most of that's under 5, it's all under 5 metres AHD, and a lot of it's 2.5 metres AHD. That's midway between low and high tide, so when you take that into consideration, a lot of it's only 1 and a bit metres above the tide. Whoops. I was just going to mention also, people think it's been sand mined. They're really old trees. That's just massive, that's really old. 95% of that strip has never been mined and it's beautiful territory. This is the type of thing we don't want to see happen on a really narrow sand spit as we get changing storm and tidal conditions and possibly sea level rise. And there's a body of evidence suggesting that we will, authorities that approve this type of thing, knowing these risks, as we do now, will be totally liable, and that means all of us ratepayers will be liable. And why would we have to? There's a huge amount of developable area around town, including lots of infill going on within town. Half of Rainbow Shores hasn't been done yet. The blue area down the bottom will be subdivided before long by council. There's huge amounts of investigation to be done on those others if we need it. I'm not saying these things have to happen, but they're unconstrained physically, and unless we choose not to and write that into the planning scheme, the market will push development in those areas. We should be working this out first, keeping a tight town footprint and maintaining our advantage and leaving all of that open. If it gets washed away, we don't want to lose $1 billion of real estate in it. That's just a bit of a bigger scale of all of the area we've got in there to look at. If we want to double our population, we can fill half the empty houses up. And that's what will get us our services. The population is every day, not the peak loading that will come in even to a greater degree with a larger number of empty houses strewn along the place. Now look, these are the technical issues. There's a lot of stuff in there with the global warming, the erosion issues and the lack of benefit that have elements in the planning scheme. This can be refused. The lease makes the development completely subject to the planning scheme, and the planning scheme does have elements that can refuse it. We believe this, and we want the council to pick up those issues because they see this concern and run with them. That's all we're asking. What we are concerned about though, or everyone thinks this, because we've got a massive objections, it must be some sort of record. Nearly 800 against it. If you take this, these are from the applicant's research. If you take the pro formas off, that means there's nearly 200 originals, which is a huge number. Plus all of the 600 are quite valid too. Now what we've got is a real problem. This is a problem I just want to have people think about. We've got an issue where the credibility of all of the objections is being questioned. This is part of a submission that was put by the developer to the council to suggest that 95% of you people can't think yourself, and I'm doing all this. Now, I mean, this has come straight off their sheet, and there's copies of the whole presentation if you want to look at it. It's quite amazing. Now, we don't know what council think about this. We've got 800 submissions in there, and what are they worth? There's a campaign going on to discredit them. They've even got a consultant to go through it and say it's not a form of rigorous market research. It was never meant to be. All it was meant to be was an encouragement for people to say what they thought. If when 75% sample is taken and over 500 out of 800 voting adults is a pretty big sample, I don't think market research is valid. So they're saying that our submissions aren't valid. Now, I think people need to bring this up with council. We're going to make sure council don't believe this. And this is what we're really concerned about. We've had a lot of struggle to get this meeting. And there was a distinct statement made in this same submission to council that the developer thinks a public meeting is not the appropriate forum to discuss these issues. Now, we're really worried that the council have voted against this meeting for 3 times now, and we're having our own meeting, and I'm glad they've come. But I'm very concerned about the difficulty of engaging with council, and we need some really strong statements of clarity from council about where our position stands, what the concerns of all these people really add up to. I'll leave it there with a quick summary. There's huge numbers of genuine issues that haven't been dismissed. The concern is huge and genuine. And we need to be really certain that council understands that and gives them the validity that they request, that they require and they demand, and not be put off by a campaign that's actually not playing the ball now, it's playing the man, and it's trying to discredit the validity and the standing impact of those submissions. Council's got the tools to stop this. It will do it because it backs us, and we want council to back us. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, we have two roving microphones. Could I have one up here to the table, and we'll hand one back to Greg, so that you only really, in effect, have one roving microphone.
Oh, that's fine, yeah. So if there's any quick questions on the overview of that, anyone wants anything clarified?
I just have one, Greg.
Yeah.
The issue on the sand mine, the area of the sand mine, back in the late 90s, early 2000, I actually went to council about shifting the sand, the ilmenite stockpile. Do you know where that is?
Yeah.
And at the time, I don't know if anyone here was aware of it, but DNR in Brisbane informed me.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I don't know if you people realise this, but the parcel of land that has the ilmenite stockpile on is actually a contaminated site. It should have been fenced off according to DNR in Brisbane back in 2002, and I had a meeting with them. Our plans were to shift the stockpile. The area has a background gamma count 4 times higher than the acceptable level. If you were to spend 2 years on that site, you would end up with health problems. That's coming from DNR. Their problem is cleaning it up. We wanted to shift the stockpile to a certain level. It's contaminated by virtue of the fact that the concentration that's there. That's all I have to add about the actual mining site. I don't know if the people are aware of that. And the only thing that stopped me from shifting it was council. Council wanted to impose all these limitations on getting it out, and then wanted me to clean up the site. I wasn't going to agree to that. I was only interested in the stockpile, shifting the stockpile. But it is a contaminated site. It should have been fenced off back whenever they finished with it, back whenever. So, I don't know if you're aware of it, but I just thought I'd inform you.
Can you point out where that site is?
Yeah. It's, sorry, so see this blue rectangle?
Can you work it on the map?
There. No, the mouse doesn't. We got one? Yeah. Oh, there we go. This blue rectangle here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in this bottom half here. So it's in near town. It's one of the, it's a constraint. It's a constraint on the development options of that site that was the old mill site. So it's not part of the other lease. It's an area in near town that needs to be remediated before things are considered for that site, or as things are considered for that site.
Can we go to the second photo you put up? That one. Back.
Yep.
Yep. I can't see Rainbow Shores because it's so well done. All I can see is Rainbow Beach. That is suburban sprawl. Rainbow Shores isn't. Look at it. I can't see it from here. All I can see is bush. It's very well done, and the rest of it should be done like that, not the back of where the dump is going to be done. That's if it gets done, which you'll be against it. And here you are telling all these people you're for all that development, and you'll be against the total, all of it.
Well, I can see Rainbow Shores from there. I can see it from the beach when I walk along on the area they've closed off.
What will it look like where the 6-storey buildings go in? They're not there yet. When the 6-storey buildings go in, how will it look then? Through it, you can see how many empty blocks are still in there. What happens to the blocks that are in there now? Just now, like today, how many trees been cut down? There is an issue with the slackening of the what you might call covenant or expectation there, and there are blocks being fully clear-felled now. And I'd suggest that over a bigger area it would be impossible to maintain those covenants. So it's kind of notional. And I'd also suggest that there's a big, if you did do a really full canopy subdivision through that length and that position, you've probably got a fire problem.
So just one thing, Greg. The lady down the back, the builder down the back, I don't think on this, I'm actually a builder by trade, on that aerial shot, I don't think they have the 100 units that are built there that I went past today. Those are approximately 100. Right. I'm actually a builder by trade. I can't see it on that site. You can't hide 100 units. End of story. Right on this
Mr. Please, way up the back, please. Way up the back, please.
Yes. If you're successful in getting council to reject this development offer,
speak louder, please.
If you're successful in getting council to reject this development offer, development approval, what are your plans for the site in the future? And who's to say that another developer won't pick up the lease from the leaseholder now and come up with something that we don't want as well?
Yeah, look,
Right. Can I ask my wife to read a letter that she wrote to the council, and maybe the gentleman's queries will be answered?
sure. Yeah.
Please.
Yes. Well, we'll let someone. We'll let one of the public answer it. I don't do all these things. Everyone else does a lot too.
You're part of it, so give us a chance.
We were recently down at Alucas, the New South Wales coast, and as you know, there's been a lot of development down there. And they've got an area very similar to this, and they've actually started off as a nature reserve, and it has now been recognised as a World Heritage Area. And that was a proposal we put to council in our letter, that area be declared a nature reserve and possibly be incorporated into the national park, if not standalone nature reserve. So that's what I would like to see happen to that beautiful area.
Yeah, it's important to realise the development lease is only current till 2014, and it then will revert to the state if progress is not made on it. So this is probably the time horizon of why the application is current. It's kind of right near the end of the scenario for this, so if it gets knocked over, it's not worth much, and well, it's worth a huge amount as a recreational infrastructure, but it's not worth very much commercially. So, look, the state really should buy it back for something like what it was paid for. I think that's fair, but to consider its urban development value in a buyback is crazy because it has none.
I would have thought, to answer the guy's question, I think
It was fairly obvious that north of the northern access, beach access, or wherever the end of stage 1 ends, I would have thought it was pretty obvious that it should be a conservation reserve, full stop. And so I've travelled the country for 3.5 years, just got back. I moved here in 2000. And to me, all of Western Australia, some of the most pristine parts of this country, that's exactly what it would be, a conservation park. Not part of the national park, but simply a conservation park. And to me, that's the end of it all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know that we can... are there any questions that Scott...
He had his hand up.
Thank you. Just on.
Thank you, Mick. Most people know I'm the Rainbow Beach, the elected Rainbow Beach Commerce and Tourism Association president, and I've been given a list of questions to ask Greg. I just wanted to dwell on one point. You asked why this is not the right forum for the council to be discussing this in. Well, I'll tell you why. Because I was threatened with 4 guys with baseball bats this afternoon if I turned up and spoke at this
You did it. There you are. Objective, throw him out. He's become subjective. Throw him out.
Ladies and
You've got a
gentlemen,
vested interest.
I was loaning my These Iceworks when I spoke in a very casual and frivolous way, right, to my friend here,
Excuse
right?
me, Wally. You don't exactly. I mean, you don't have
Hang on. I said I'm promoting you too.
Excuse me, can I ask you to report it to the police?
Jesus Christ.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we didn't come here, I know that the allegations made and a rebuttal from the battle here. Please, if you're going to carry on like this, most of you go outside, set the story up there, not here. Not in here. If you want to score to settle, go outside, take your jackets off.
I can do that too.
Well, way you go. Way you go. Anyway, now what we're here for is it's a public meeting, ladies and gentlemen, to listen to one group of people put forward comment, and then the applicant is going to be given an opportunity, same time, same number, same period, also to make their comment to the public meeting. So can we keep it on that basis, please? Now, thank you. Now, I know that Mr. Wood has provided an agenda. We're 10 minutes over that agenda at the moment.
There is another half an hour after this to come back in, so
So
there's another
what I'm trying to
20 minutes.
do is to make sure that we maximise the time here, we optimise the use of our time here to listen to what the common sense organisation has got to say, and also what the applicant has got to say. That's what you're here for, aren't you? All right, so let's keep it on that basis, please. And having said that, I'm going to allow 2 more questions, and then we'll go into the next segment of the agenda. Yes.
Oh, he hasn't.
I haven't asked my
I'm
question.
sorry. All right.
He's forfeited the right to ask any questions with that ridiculous comment that he made. Somebody else.
You're waiting now too, sir, if you don't mind, because at the moment we're going to listen to the questions, and then as I said, if you have a difference of opinion, go outside, but these good people here don't want to listen to a brawl between the warring factions. There you go, sir.
My comment still stands, and that is why you don't have public meetings. Because
He should retract his comment or get out.
Go on, leave the meeting.
Go back to your car wash now.
Now listen, interjections like that don't solve anything.
Yes,
I'm not.
This man has not got the right to make those volatile statements.
No, he hasn't. Nobody.
We do have a right to have a supplementary.
Yep.
Even a fool
Okay,
can't let him
my
go.
question's in regard to the meeting itself, Greg, and how it was advertised. Could you please let everyone know how you went about advertising?
What's the point of this crap?
Okay, no, look, this really needs to be dealt with. We have been trying to get council to hold the fair, proper, even-handed meeting. We had a meeting 4 weeks ago that was for us to sort out. All the people we know don't want this, for very good reasons. Rational adults, we're allowed to make up our own mind after we spent months looking at the gear, looking at the 2,000 pages and doing whatever else we needed to do. As I said, it's not hard to work out, it's not a good thing for most of us. We got together here to have a meeting to work out how to stop it. And people came along from this side then and tried to interrupt, saying they deserved a fair go. We never got invited to one of the meetings that they had to plan to get the thing going. Public meeting for anyone in the public who wants to come along to work out how to stop it, and we get heckled and interjected, and then stories in the paper for weeks after saying how horrible we are and how unfair we are. Okay, so we asked the council. We ratified the group at the meeting with about 100 people. We went to council, we gave a planning presentation, we asked them to come down and have the fair, open, two-sided meeting. That is a good thing. 2 weeks later they roll up and say, you can't do that. So we get stuck with having our own meeting, which we invite them to, bearing in mind everyone's lives. We can't go on for 4 hours. We've got to wrap it up sort of tight. Yeah. We didn't go around chasing up their database of all the supporters. That's their job.
Yes.
We know who we are. We know all the people in town. We know who doesn't like it. We have to hunt them out. We bump into them with our eyes shut. They're everywhere.
Before we go to the next segment, ladies and gentlemen, bearing in mind that there is a session towards the end with regard to more questions and resolutions.
I can film your questions.
Is there one more question anyway?
Rebecca has a question.
Down in front of me.
You the microphone?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, I have two.
Yes, speak louder.
Real close, real close.
Real face.
One thing that's really
Right, close.
one thing that's really interesting for a long time is that I'm under the illusion, or I've spoken to quite a few people that said that until a house is built on any property in Rainbow Shores, the council isn't paid for the land. So that leads me to a question as to where the council's loyalty is. The second thing that really concerns me is this. I've done quite a bit of research and spoken to quite a bit of people, and I'm always interested in sea levels. I'm not this stupid person that thinks climate change is the whole world, but sea levels I do watch. I'm under the impression that within the next 10 to 20 years, remember the flood on the centre block 18 years ago, where a quarter of it was totally immersed? Yeah. I'm under the impression that Rainbow Rainbow Shores will be Atlantis within 10 to 15, 20 years. So would you invite a lovely young couple in their 20s with a baby on the way to buy a house there? I'm not sure I would.
Look, there's a really good point within that second bit. Not to say the first bit wasn't great, but the second bit's really vital. The latest in the International Panel on Climate Change, the World Authority has indicated sea level rises over the next 50 years of a range, but the average is 0.5 metre. And they have said very categorically in the latest report there is a 90% chance of this happening. So we're looking at a 90%. The breadth of the best consensus globally is that we will have a 0.5 metre sea level rise with a 90% certainty by the middle of the century, which is only 30 years. As we said, 2.5 metres AHD, which is probably only about 1.2 above astronomical high tide. Adding the storm surges and the storm activity that's predicted to come along with that, there's a specific part in the IPCC report that centres right on southeast Queensland, and we're in trouble already, and we should be trying to fix that before we extend the problem. The issue of young people trying to insure houses, look, I really don't know whether in 5 years' time, if this did go ahead, it would even be saleable, because people wouldn't be able to, it's very likely it would be uninsurable.